Well, Ryan, my intro got a little messed up halfway through the third period. I thought my opening was going to be, well, misery loves company because the Habs were down 3-1, but you got to enjoy the effort that they put forth to get back in that one tonight.
Yeah, they salvaged a point, but they've lost 4 games in a row now. And while I'm not on the couch with you, I'm close.
You can't be on the couch. There's only room for one on the couch.
I know. I'm in the recliner. I'm not on the couch. I'm in the recliner.
Yeah.
But this was a bad week for both teams, and we'll get into it in a little bit about why it was bad for both teams and what they can do to turn it around, if anything. But we should note that 2 of the losses, one by each of the Canadiens and the Leafs, came at the hands of the visiting Los Angeles Kings.
Terrible.
It was terrible. But my daughter, Mystery, is standing right next to me, and as a rabid LA Kings fan, has a little message that she would like to deliver to you and me and to our audience.
You're going to get a little grief from your daughter now.
Yeah, I'm going to get a little grief from my daughter. So, Mystery, please share with us what you have to say.
Okay, first of all, I'm not rabid. And second of all, nah, 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 nah. Ha, 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 ha.
There you
Kings
go.
rule. Canadians and Maple Leafs drool. That's all I needed to say. Goodbye.
Wow. Hard-hitting analysis there. Thank you, Mystery. Really much appreciated.
That's just wonderful.
She's
having her fun now.
Yeah. Well, I'll be taking her to the game when they come back to LA.
Well, let's also remind her here for a second that good old dad picked the Kings to miss the playoffs.
No, I didn't. Did I?
I picked them to make the playoffs because it was Kempe's Kopitar's last year, and I thought they were going to get in. We had this argument, and you didn't think it was going to be good enough to get them in because of their defensive structure, their poor goaltending. Yeah. But it's not happening. So
well, there you go.
I like that your daughter's got a little one up on you right now.
Oh, yeah. She's twisting the knife a little bit. But we got one more game against LA on March 7th, and we will be there in excellent seats. I can assure you of that.
Excellent.
In our respective jerseys.
There you go.
So let's start with the Canadiens.
Yeah, we just finished watching a great hockey game.
Yep.
Well, good third period and a good overtime.
Yeah, a good third period. And they had a few moments in the second period where they looked like themselves a little bit. But, man, the last 4 games, in large part, they can't connect on passes in the defensive zone. They can't connect on passes in the neutral zone. And they can't do anything with the puck when they're in the offensive zone. Like, they have actually had long stretches of possession time in the offensive zone, which you'd think, well, then how could they be so bad? How could they lose 5-1 to the Kings and 7-0 to the Dallas Stars and have decent possession time in both games? I'll tell you how. Because they cycle the puck up and down, and they never generate a shot on net. They can be in the offensive zone for 30 seconds, never get the puck inside, end up taking a shot from the half boards of the point that gets blocked, and then the puck goes back the other way, sometimes on an odd man rush. It was like sometimes when there's trap type hockey and the whole game is just a bunch of, picked off passes and chip pucks in the neutral zone, I can fall asleep. I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm a massive hockey fan, and I have dozed off in games that are kind of like old Devil style games, or actually like even old LA King style games.
I don't think you're having that problem watching the Habs this year.
I fell asleep during like a 2-minute cycle the Canadiens had against LA. It was just, there was nothing happening.
I missed most of that game.
There was nothing happening. It was one of the most sort of pointless cycles I've ever seen. And then as the game went on, and this is part of the reason why they lost so badly by a touchdown, 7-0 to Dallas, was when you start getting frustrated with that kind of stuff, you start trying to make plays that you weren't making when you were winning. You start looking for that stretch pass. You start looking for that bump pass, in the neutral zone or in your own zone to clear the zone, and they stop working. Like all the simple plays, smart plays that you were making when you were winning just start to go away because man, we're not scoring. We're giving up easy goals because of bad goaltending. We got to turn it around. And I think in some ways it was it's similar to what's plagued Edmonton the entire season. And we'll get to that a little bit later. But I feel like the Canadiens have to get back to playing a fast game. simple plays made quickly, and I think that's what they did in the third period, and they started looking good. I
Well,
have
they
to tell
started
you,
getting pucks to the net too.
they
Like
started
that
getting
first
pucks to the
period,
net.
up until like the 2 minute mark of that first period, they had
shots on
two
goal.
shots on net.
Yeah. What I will say about them that's great is it was an interesting move to take to swap Slavkovsky and Zach Bolduc and put Bolduc up with the first line. I thought he looked very effective in a similar role to Slavkovsky, but putting Slavkovsky down with Kapanen and Demidov was really interesting because both Demidov and Slavkovsky exhibit a lot of poise and calmness with the puck. And so they were able to maintain possession. Now, they didn't generate a ton until the third period, but I really felt like that line had interesting things to do as a second line, which they had to figure something out, right? Because Doc is hurt and Newhook is hurt. So I'd say that experiment was interesting and they should keep it going a little bit. And then I was really impressed with this kid, Jared Davidson. I couldn't believe he didn't score against Boston. He had a couple of grade A chances. He had a couple of good chances tonight. Like, I don't know what he's a 78th round draft pick or something like that. But he's really impressive. Really, I could see why he was leading the team in Laval in scoring.
Yeah.
But they really, really need to start tightening up that game, making the simple plays again, tightening up defensively. I mean, they're leaving guys open in the slot over and over and over again, and that's a problem. But they were not as good as their 10-3 record, and they're not as bad as the 0-4 record in the last four games.
Like, I think you said it there too, in terms of measuring stick games against Dallas, who is a top team in the West. And you consider right now the Habs being one of the top three teams in the East.
They came up lacking.
It shows the disparity right now between the East and West and where power is right now, right? So you're right. They've got to, they're playing well and they're doing great. They've had a bit of a tough week. Injuries aren't helping, but
losing Newhook and Doc, who I talked about Goalie, but I didn't talk about Goalie last week as a pair. Like I talked directly specifically about Newhook and Doc, and they both got hurt. So I'm sorry, Jared Davidson. I knock on wood. I hope nothing terrible happens to you in the next week, because I'm clearly on a bit of a roll right now. But like I said, I'm not on the couch. I'm on the recliner. I'm a little morose, but I don't have that feeling of doom that
that I do,
that you do, which is an opportune time for us to
switch over to the Leafs.
Switch over to the Leafs.
I've not left the couch, and I'm sorry, even if you were in that position, I'm occupying it, and I'm not giving up my residency at this point. Like, let's be honest right now. The Leafs are really lucky to be 8-9-2 and only be one game under 500. Yep. They have been down early in most games. They have been chasing most of the games they've been playing. They've just lacked life and ambition on the ice. That's when you watch them, there's just zero ambition out there. They're turning over the puck too much. Probably the most turnovers than any team. You got two of our top defensemen, Morgan Rielly and OEL, in the top 5 of giveaways. That can't happen. We're too many odd man rushes. We're being outchecked and outskate most nights. I've talked about this all season so far. As a 5-man unit, they're so disconnected. So many trailing guys coming into our zone are getting open looks. It's just bad. When you add the stats on top of this, they're worse. They're 31st in goals against, second last in the league. They're spending 42% of their time in their D zone. Just to give you an example, Carolina, who leads that stat, is 36 minutes in their own zone average, 36%. They're only spending 39.5% of the time in the O zone. Again, as an example, Carolina, who leads that stat's 45.6% of the time. That is huge in terms of amount of time spent in the opposite zone. They got to find a way out of this ditch. There's time, but they got to do it quickly. And the injuries aren't helping. And even with the injuries or without the injuries, let's be honest so far. Austin Matthews has been good this season at times. He has not been great.
Well, he's not great
not
when
been
he's not
superstar
great in the
status.
press box with
No,
whatever injury
but he's
he
not.
has.
He's not been great on the ice. He's not been leading this team. He had an opportunity this year to really, with Marner gone, and a lot of people saying, "Oh, he can't get to the numbers he got without Marner there," and he had a chance to really showcase talent and take over games. He just hasn't done that, and some people have got to be wondering, especially given how well Tavares is playing. Did we take the C away from Tavares too soon and put it on Matthews? Is that being too big of a burden on Matthews? Right? As
Wow,
that
because you were
I was for it,
very,
but
very, very much
I
for
was
it when
for it
it
because
happened.
Tavares didn't have a great 2 seasons ago. He didn't have a great season, right? He was showing
Right.
decline, and all of a sudden, maybe that the C coming off his chest was a little lightning to him in terms of getting out of that spotlight and having to be that guy getting up in the room and speaking. And maybe it's putting too much burden on Austin Matthews, but we've got to figure this out, and we got to figure it out quickly. And it's not helping now. We have three of our centermen out. We got Lawton's out, Matthews is out, and now Waugh is out. And
Yeah.
that's just shown now how the lack of depth we've got on the in
Well,
the
no
crop
team is going to
helping.
lose. No team can lose three centers and fill those holes.
No,
I don't
but-
care how deep you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you
but still,
can't do that.
The other problem is guys like Waugh and Dakota Joshua and Maselli to a certain point haven't done what I think the Leaf brass was hoping they were doing. They've not been great. When you look at the Leaf stats, you got Domi at -10. You got Joshua at -7, Lorentz at -5, Yarncroc at -5, Nicholas Waugh at -5, Riley at -4. You can't have some of your top players that play and depend on playing defensive hockey that poor on their own end.
I think that's fair.
And
I
that
think
is
that's-
just not going to be good enough.
So what's the prescription? I mean,
I-
we'll talk about trades, potential trade seasons starting later. But once we're talking about the Leafs, like if there was a player that they could trade for right now,
Well, I think if you're listening to,
or are you talking about more than one deal to turn this around?
Oh, I think there's got to be multiple moves made right now. And before we get to the trade part, there's been sort of people out there saying, well, maybe it's time to remove Berube. That ain't happening.
Already?
There's not happening. It's a season and a half. This is not a Berube problem. There's
That's
a lack of
that's
effort.
panic mode.
It's
That is a
panic mode.
panic mode.
But I do believe that there's got to be some kind of a shakeup. And there's been rumors out there that the Leafs are trying to find a way to get Anderson out of Calgary and maybe Kadri as well. So a two-man swap there. But the problem is the Leafs do not have the assets to give up for them. They're not a great trading partner for Calgary.
No, they've got no
They
first round
don't
picks
have first
forever.
round until 28. And so they're trying to make player for player trades. But what does that mean? They're not going to give up on Matthews. They're not going to give up on Nylander, or Tavares isn't going anywhere. So is it Riley? Is it maybe one of their goaltenders? I don't
just
know.
don't-
You can't give up much. You don't have
The
any
problem is, I
assets.
think they're good defensively. I know you don't love Riley, but I think they're a good defensive team. They're like when they're healthy. Right
Well,
now, they're
they're not-
down. They're down Tanev. They're down Carlo.
Well, here's the
but-
problem this year. They're in the top 4 teams of scoring goals, but they're in the bottom 3 of giving up goals. So they're not good defensively right now.
But I think that's
a
a
problem right now.
I think that's a forward problem.
I just think it's a stylistic of play right now and an effort thing. Like they're just not playing well as a 5-man unit. They're getting, as I said
Right.
earlier, they're disconnected. Too many odd man rushes. Too many trailing guys getting open looks, and that just ain't going to suffice in this league. You give guys
But the
open
trailing,
looks.
the trailing guys, I firmly blame
Oh, no
the
question.
forwards.
Oh, no
It's just a
question.
lack of back pressure.
No question.
And
No question.
I've said it 1,000
It's a
times.
lack
Anyway,
of structure and a lack of effort and a lack of being in the right place at the right times. It's just not happening.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but I do believe the Leafs have to shake something up. They've got to make a change. They got to change the chemistry of the team, and they got to change it quickly because we're coming up to the end of the month, and we know what that means.
Thanksgiving approacheth.
So, but it's hard to continue to rant and rant and rant. But some people say, oh, the injuries now. But look there's 3 other teams with what am I saying? There's Devils. Look at the injuries that are killing the Devils right now. Jack Hughes, poor Jack Hughes can't stay healthy. Um, he's just, he's got what I was doing here. You got Jack Hughes out. You got Hamilton out. You got Pesce out. You got Brown out. They're devastated. The Habs, Newhook, Laine, Goalie, and Doc.
Yeah.
Panthers. Look at the Panthers. They're still doing decently. Barkov, Kachuk, Kulikov, um, Nosek. They're devastated. Bolts.
Well, the Bolts,
Hedman,
2/3 of their
Hagel,
team is on IR.
Cirelli, McDonough, Holmberg. You go on. The Canucks got six guys out of their starting rotation. The Sabres got six guys out. The Penguins have six guys out. It's just next guy up mentality, and the Leafs just don't have it.
Yeah, well, I mean, clearly the Devils do. I mean, they're still playing fantastically
Yeah.
with all these injuries. And Tampa Bay, who I thought were going to be kind of average, irrespective of their injuries, are still playing pretty well since their horrible stop. Their
They're
start, I
7-3
should
in their
say.
last 10, so
And with
they've
all
turned
these
it
injuries,
around.
they spanked Florida the other night with half their lineup in the
Yep.
press box. So, why? What? There's no excuses for everybody, right? As you say, next man up. But at the same time, we got to take a step back and think about it holistically. And it's like, all right, you are a coach or a general manager, and you're having a meeting with the team trainer going, clearly this compressed schedule for the Olympics is having a massive impact on every team, possibly ours as well, depending on who you're talking about. And unless you're Colorado, which is, just steamrolling everybody and playing, pretty healthy at the same time.
Yeah.
How do you, is it a matter of managing ice time? I don't think so. I don't think it's an ice time issue that's creating all these injuries. It's just sort of general fatigue all the way.
But it's so early in the season. Yes, the compressed schedule, but you would expect that it really to catch up to the teams either just before or just after the Olympic break. You wouldn't expect it, or late in the season. You don't expect it 18, 20 games into the season where compressed schedule is causing this type of fatigue or injury, which is, I get it. The players are playing more, but it's not something that's new. They did it last year for the Four Nations. So maybe that's just a combined effect of last year, this year, compressed schedule, playing a lot of hockey.
Yeah. Four Nations was not the Olympics, right? Four Nations was a week. This is two.
It was two.
Was it two?
It was two. It ended up being two. 10 days. It was 10 days. But yes, this is going to be longer.
Yeah.
So the other players are going to get a longer break and get rested. But yes, the NHL compressed schedule in this thing is probably having an effect on that.
Yeah. And what this makes me think of in a worrisome way for me is you're going to have all the best players in the world playing in the Olympics. They're going to be going hard for their countries. And when you come back and the schedule is just compressed on the backside, they are going to show signs of fatigue.
Yeah.
And you are going to have players who did not play at that level, well rested, a little faster, a little more on top of the game. I worry that there'll be more injuries to star players after the Olympic break based on what we're seeing so far. And that would be a shame.
It poses an interesting question. Some of these players, like let's take the Kachucks for now, that haven't even played this season, or, the one has played a little bit, but Keith hasn't played at all.
Keith.
Matthew Tkachuk. Matthew Tkachuk hasn't played at all. Will there be some pressure on him from the team to say, maybe you need to sit this out
and wait for the playoffs entirely, or for the Olympics? Tell them to sit out the
Olympics and come back and play and be healthy. Like, there might be some pressure. There's, these guys, you say, are all going to want to play. It's going to be hard to keep them out of the lineup. But some teams might go to whisper in a couple of these guys' ears and go, maybe you should sit this out. Maybe. I'd be shocked.
The last GM to go to his player, especially a player like the Kachucks, with their mentality and say, I don't think you should represent your country because your first obligation is to us as a professional hockey player, and we'd like you to think about foregoing the chance to represent your country in the Olympics, that would go poorly.
Oh, it would absolutely go poorly. But you got to think that's in some of the GM's back of their minds going, how do I keep my team healthy going into the back half of this season? And some of these guys are already injured. They're not going to go 100%. They're not going to be 100% going in the Olympics. They're going to be not 100% coming out. And as you say, then compressed schedule on top of that could lead to further injury, and even worse, having a team miss a playoff because they're going to miss one or two key guys, could be missing a couple of key guys, right? Or it could affect their fortunes in the playoffs when one of their top guys is not there.
I mean, if it would be anybody from my perspective, it would probably be Julien Brisebois, because his team and the Lightning, his team are kind of coming to the end of their window. Mm-hmm. And so every season is critical. You don't want to lose the opportunity to compete for a Stanley Cup in any season. And so if Brandon Hagel and, Anthony Cirelli are banged up, hurt, maybe does he make that request? I don't know how anybody does it, but he would probably be a little bit more motivated than somebody whose star players are at the beginning of or in the prime of their contention window, because he's just like, all right, well, if we don't win it this year, I'll still have a happy hockey team next year.
Well, I used Cirelli and Hagel as an example. I'm not sure they're on this team anyway. I think with some of these young kids, Suzuki, Celebrini, they could be taking those spots.
They could be. I don't think
it's going to be hard to keep some of these older guys off the team. As we talked about at the beginning, that Marchand might not make this team, but he's off to a hot start. I don't know how you're going to keep him off this team. I'm not sure he should be on the team, but it's going to be hard to keep him off the team. Bennett's not out to a good start either.
No.
But how do you keep him off the team? You need some.
I think it's easier to keep him off the team. I think it's easy to keep Marchand off the team compared to Cirelli. Mm. Cirelli's the best defensive center that is playing right now. Yeah. I think
we talked about it last week. Could Suzuki play that?
Suzuki's not far off, but Cirelli's a little bigger, a little bit more of a shutdown guy. Yeah. I think if you want somebody who can skate with Eichel,
I'm just throwing it out there. Like, this team could look a little different because of the injuries and because of some of the young guys pushing for spots.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. But we still got, we should say we haven't got months, because we probably only got a month before the team is named.
Right.
And all the power brokers were meeting last week for, I think it was like 8 or 10 hours, trying to figure out, and apparently they have chopped the roster potentials down. They haven't come to it, and there's been no announcements, but apparently the roster sizes have come down. And I think you're going to see some surprises on both Team Canada and the U.S. I don't think the international teams are going to change too much, because they don't have as many players to draw from. But
I think Sweden has a new number one center. It's pretty obvious that Leo Carlsson is Team Sweden at this point.
Yes. And Finland is going to be looking for a new top.
And Finland is be holding off Latvia for relegation.
But I think the U.S. too, like we talked about, Cooley could be pushing for a spot. There's a few other guys on Team USA that could be pushing for spots. So, and Mark Scheifele for Team Canada his name has been absent. Does Tom Wilson make Team Canada? There's another guy that people are talking about. Should have been on Four Nations. I'm not sure I agreed with that, but remember, these rosters are bigger for the Olympics too than they were for Four Nations.
Yeah, true.
A little bit bigger, so there's going to be 3 or 4 more players than there were in Four Nations. So there's more room to add.
After the third period tonight, I don't know how you keep Lane Hudson off Team USA. Good Lord.
Well, he's impressive, right?
He just controls the play.
Changes. But the other one, before we go off this, because we said we would talk about at the top, is Team Canada goaltending right now is in trouble, because our number one goaltender, Jordan Binnington, is having a terrible season. Now, he's not helped that he's got a terrible team in front of him, and we've seen him step up in big matches. So he's going to be on this team no matter what, and he's starting game 1 no matter what. But
I don't know about that. He's on the team.
I don't think you can't start him in game 1.
Because I think the name you are about to talk about I don't want to steal your thunder.
Oh, you
The
can
way
steal it.
he's playing,
Logan
the way
Thompson,
Logan
we can say
Thompson
it.
is playing right now, I don't. If he keeps this up, maybe he starts game one.
Yeah,
He's
maybe.
unbeatable right now.
He's leading the league in goals against average at 185. He's got save percentage of 295, 225 on a team that's 8-8-2, not playing great. Only has 26 goals. No, so they're 26th in goals for, and they're fourth in goals against. So if it wasn't for Logan Thompson, I don't know where the Washington Capitals would be.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's been great. He's going to be on this team right now. If
Ugh.
you're naming Team Canada goaltenders, Jordan Binnington and Logan Thompson are 1-2 in whatever
And I
order
don't
you want
care.
to put
And I
them
don't
up.
care who number 3 is.
Yeah,
I honestly
and
don't.
Number 3
because
ain't playing, so it doesn't matter. And
if Logan Thompson keeps it up, he starts game 1.
yeah, so
And game 2 and game 3 and game 67. Like he's that
also
much
depends
better
on
than
who they
Binnington right
play
now.
in game 1. Remember, they're going to play more games against more lower end countries. So
True.
I think Binnington, because of what he did in Four Nations, unless he's got a broken leg, I think he's starting game 1. I think you owe it to him.
All right.
Look, if he falters, then yes, Logan Thompson goes in. You're going to have a little bit more runway as well. In the
Yeah.
Olympics,
Well,
too, than
he's
you did in
been
Four Nations.
faltering pretty consistently so
well,
far.
It's a little different when you got Team Canada in front of you versus the St. Louis
Fair enough.
Blues.
Fair enough.
And talking about injury front, you got Hyman back for the Oilers.
And they still stink. They just got smoked by Buffalo.
Just bad. Something's got to happen in.
It's the goaltending. It just depresses the whole team every time they give up a soft goal, and then 2 soft goals, and then the team just says, "Oh, all right, maybe next time." They quit.
Not good.
No.
But
well, I want to talk about something that is confusing to me, and there are elements that are always confusing to me about the capital C code, the code.
I know where you're
behavior in hockey. What things you don't do. You don't cross the center ice line during the warm up. You don't fire at a goalie after the whistle has blown. All that stuff. The code.
Yes.
I would like to know what part of the code was broken that so infuriated Jonathan Quick when the Red Wings fired a puck into the open net after the game was over.
Let's in case people didn't see it, let's just remember a couple things on this front. The Rangers are 1-7-1 at home. They finally won earlier this week at home because the Preds came to town, and the Predators seem to be that solves everybody's problems. So can they come and play the Leafs a few more times? But anyway, so they finally beat them, but then they lose to Detroit at home again. And at the end of the game, you said fires the puck into the end zone. Appleton shot the puck into the empty net. Maybe a second after the buzzer.
I don't care if he did it 10 seconds after the game was over.
Nobody on the ice seemed to care. It wasn't aggressive. It wasn't like he went down and fired it the way that, if you remember in Ottawa, when I forget who did it in Ottawa against the Leafs, and he went down and he smoked it into the empty ice, took a slap shot from the hash marks. But that wasn't what he did. He basically, after the horn, he just sort of hit it and went into the net, slapped it, not hard and aggressive. And as Appleton's skating out of the zone, Jonathan Quick comes onto the ice and goes after him.
Yeah. By the way, just to reiterate that, Quick was not on the ice when the game ended. He was on the bench, and he came off the bench to throw a little hissy fit and start a bench clearing melee. I wouldn't call it a brawl.
Yeah.
Dude, you are a respected veteran in this game.
But I think it goes to this. You're right.
There was no code broken.
This just goes to how the tensions in New York, how bad of a team they've got, and how bad they're playing at home. And that's what happens. And a veteran goaltender, that's frustrating because he actually played a great game. They only lost, 2-1 because it wasn't an empty net goal, didn't count. But he actually played a great game, and they lost for their 7th time at home in 9 games. So, or 8 out of 9 times. So I think it's just tempers overblowing, and he took it too far. And I actually think there should be some reprimandment done for that, because that can't happen. Repercussions. There needs to be something that needs to happen, because that can't happen.
Yeah,
that was dumb.
But what do you fine him? You can't suspend the guy for that.
We can give him a game.
A game? He didn't.
2 games.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. It was,
It was perplexing.
yeah.
The
So,
reaction was perplexing given what transpired on the ice.
and
Nobody cared.
the one note I also want to say about things that I was not impressed with this week, and it's not an NHL thing. It's the video that you and I saw from
Oh man, the
Brampton,
OHL, yeah, the OHL.
the OHL game where a guy got a little frustrated and took a two-hand slash to the head of his opponent. And, I just want to say
Terrible look.
there's
for the
no room
OHL.
in any sport for that kind of act. The last time something like that happened, the police were involved and charges were filed. I would hope that a similar
Yes,
outcome would happen here, and that this kid doesn't play hockey for a good long time.
absolutely. Like there was no rational reason why he went after him like that. He
Yeah,
took a
from
bit of a
behind.
hit. He took a bit of a hit, but it wasn't that bad.
Yeah,
He didn't hit him into the boards. He just, they collided and he was from behind a little bit. But then he gets up and viciously takes a two-hander to somebody else's head
so it's a hit from behind. So
from
it was
behind. The guy didn't see it coming.
It reminded me of the Dino Cicerelli one from all
He
those
just
years
needs
ago.
to
You remember
be,
that?
yeah, it just needs to be tossed for, like you say, a good long time. This kid should lose his right to play hockey
Yeah,
for a long time.
yeah.
But
Well, on a more positive note, let's should we wrap things up? Should we talk about what's good this week?
well, do you want to wrap up with the question that I posed to you before we got on the
Yes.
air?
Who makes the first panic trade?
Who makes the first panic trade? Who is going to pull the trigger first? Not who should pull the trigger first. Who's going to pull the trigger first? Do you want me to go or do you want to go on this?
You go. You
Well,
go.
To answer the first question, I think I know who should make the first trade. I think Toronto or Edmonton should make the first trade. I don't think either team has the assets or the players or anything to give up. We know the Leafs are trying to make a player for player trade. It's difficult with the lack of assets that they've got. We know Edmonton needs a goaltender, but they don't have assets to give up. The two teams, or maybe three teams, that have all the assets and all the power here are Calgary, the Predators, and probably
St.
the
Louis.
Blues, right? Those three teams, one of those three teams is going to be the first to pull the trigger and open the floodgates. And I got to believe it's going to happen before Christmas. It's got to happen between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
What if
before the break?
What
And
if
I'm going to say it's going to be
Oilers
Calgary. I think it's going to be Calgary
You're going to be Calgary. Okay, so
or Buffalo.
but that's not the interesting question to me. So I'm going to ask you the question again.
Okay.
I'm going to turn it around. Who's not the first? I don't care who the first seller is. Right. Who's the first panicked buyer? What buying team that's sort of underperforming or thinks that they have an opportunity to make improve their team with a deal makes the early deal?
I think it's Toronto. There's no question it's Toronto. I just think the pressure in the city to do something and to turn this thing around and there's no such thing in Toronto at this point now for a rebuild. You've got to win, and you've got to win soon because the city's going to boil over.
Well, there's no rebuild in Toronto because a rebuild in Toronto means dealing Tavares and dealing Matthews. Because you don't rebuild a team with
you can't
$13 million superstar.
Yeah.
He'll never let you lose enough to truly rebuild. So
it's Toronto's going to make the first panic move, but they need to find a willing seller.
I think it's going to be Edmonton.
Yeah,
I think they're going to go hard after Binnington or Saros.
Mm-hmm.
I really do.
Yeah,
and they're going to sell the farm for it because they got to keep McDavid.
The farm. That's the problem. Neither
you find the farm.
Oilers have assets to trade.
You find one. They've got some young players. They're not performing that well right now, but you've got some young players with a
draft
bunch of
picks, and neither team has draft picks.
You give them enough second round draft picks, it makes up for a first because they can. Honestly, I think Edmonton is the first panicky team, and then depending on where they are in the race around December, the second, third week in December, just before the freeze, I think you could see the Rangers making a move.
Yeah, but I think they're going to be sellers. I don't think they're going to be buyers.
I don't know.
I think the interesting one, I'm going to throw one out there that I think is an interesting one that needs to buy something and then needs to buy a defenseman, I think it's where Anderson will end up. It's the Golden Knights. They're
Mm,
looking at the West, and you're looking at what Colorado's doing and how well they're playing and how a machine they are at this point. They're just rolling over everybody. Then you got Dallas, who's sticking with them two for, Winnipeg's not that far off of them. You got surprisingly Los Angeles, Anaheim doing well. So the Knights, though, when they say we got to measure up, we went out and spent a boatload on Marner. We lost Peter Angelo on the back end. Our goaltending is suspect at best, and we need some help on the back end.
they're not
So
going anywhere unless they replace Petrangelo. I think I'm in agreement with you on
so
that.
they could be one of the teams that, in order to, because Calgary's going to sell Anderson. There's no question in my mind at this point now, given how bad their season is going.
Mhm.
So if Toronto can't get his hands on him, the Knights have assets that they could give up to get him.
Right.
So I think the Knights could be a team that some people might not suspect would go, and they might be in the Jordan Binnington or Sarho's camp as well. They need help in net as well. I
Yeah.
don't think their goaltending's anything special because Aiden Hill ain't.
Aiden Hill's
ain't
very
Aiden.
inconsistent. He's very inconsistent.
So
Ugh.
Anyway.
All right. So for this week, I'm looking forward to one thing and one thing only.
what's that?
Next Saturday night at the Bell Center,
Knew you were
the
going
Leafs
there.
are in town. I'm hoping my boys find a way to turn things around and put a little whooping on the Maple Leafs, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
All things
I'd like
being
to be
equal.
able to say I'm going to be able to jump off the couch that night and throw you onto the couch, but I'm not sure it's.
You're
gonna
not feeling
happen.
too confident
I'm not
about
feeling
that?
Too confident at the moment. I need the Leafs to show a little pushback and a little life. That's what I'm looking forward to this week.
Nothing
They showed
against
glimpses
nothing like
of
a
it
win
here
in
and there.
Montreal to turn them around.
Yeah, and that'll be a high emotion night just because it's Montreal, which I hope then the Leafs bring emotion. But I hope before they get there this week that they show a little emotion.
You don't want them to sleep through the rest of it
I
until,
want to sleep
until
through
next Saturday.
the rest of the week. That's the problem, right? So let's hope they get there. So anyway, I'm looking forward to next weekend, Saturday night, because you and I will have a text fest that Ron isn't going to like.
No, he's going to turn his phone off, and
Yeah.
I don't blame him for 1 second.
Because we'll be all over each other. I might turn my phone off. If it goes badly for the Leafs, I might turn my phone off.
You better not just turn off your notifications or your do not disturb, because they've got that function where it's like notify anyway. And I'll send them all. I'm going to power them all through.
Yeah.
And if that
Okay.
doesn't work, the Skywriter off the plane is going to fly over your house.
There you go. That's great. Well, I'm looking forward to next Saturday. If we could skip through to that, that'd be great. Hopefully the Leafs got a couple of wins under the belt. The Habs look good, so I'm looking forward to it. We'll see
see
you
it.
next Saturday night on Hockey Night in Canada.
Yes, sir.
See you later.
All right, take care, man.